Hello, everybody. This is Jabril Suleiman. I tell you, I hadn't been on in so long. This is the Pensacola Perspective. I almost forgot part of the intro. Jermaine Williams, he's with me also on this Google Hangouts call. I hadn't been on in a minute myself, so I am a little nervous, but that's fine. It's over with. I'm not nervous anymore. We have basically come on with a special broadcast with a special web show this week because this is crazy what's going on in Pensacola right now. And I've had Jermaine has been working and interviewing certain people and all and bringing on guests, and it's great. But I said, Jermaine, I needed to come back on. I needed to voice my opinion. This is crazy what's going on, from the Confederate flag melee that's been going on in the press nationally, but also affecting locally. Started out local, of course, because of a national tragedy. It's become national. Now it's local again. And then also now we have a situation where we have some young African-American men that are out in the, basically out in the media and out in public light being almost crucified. And so I had to come on to speak my mind. Jermaine, what do you have to say, man?
All right. Well, before I go into it, let me say this. I know how black people have a short memory. When LuTimothy Mays was running for his office, I tried hard not to get him elected. At the time I was working for Baptist Hospital, I put up a YouTube video talking about why he shouldn't be elected. And then, I had the powers that be at Baptist Hospital call me into the office and say either take it down or lose your job. And LuTimothy, he sat on the board at Baptist Hospital. So I want to put that out there before I say anything else, because I warned everybody of this, And then, at the time I had a huge following. And, whenever you stand on the right side of what's right, you're subject to take a hit. And so many people just was battering me and just saying, all kind of nasty stuff in my inbox. And me and Lumen and LuTimothy Mays were distant cousins. We're both from the same hood, grew up on the same street, caught the same bus to Escambia High School. They're my people, you know what I'm saying? But I knew what they were doing and who they were lined up with. Mayor Hayward, i.e. Mayor Hayward or whatever. I knew that it was something dirty in the water. So let me just say that before I say anything else. But
now I do want to say that the fact of the matter is that I think we bring the reason I wanted to have this show today is because the fact that we do have contrasting views on what's going on here. And I can't blame this man for taking a job. I can't blame this man for having a job, providing for his family, trying to improve Pensacola as a whole. And I've been critical, not to the extent that Jermaine has, but I've been critical at the point, especially lately, that I felt like one of the first meetings that I had with Mayor Hayward, Reverend May was brought in, and I can't blame that man for sitting in. If the mayor comes and asks him to sit in on a meeting, that's fine. But I felt like Mayor Hayward brought him in as though he needed to be a translator for talking for other African Americans.
Well, it's funny you say
Hayward for that.
Well, it's funny you say that because the day of the election, I was out with Hugh King. I was really out there trying to get Hugh King elected over Lumen May. And if you remember that election, it turned real ugly with Lumen and Hugh King. You remember that, Jabril? With the police and, that was a big story in the Pensacola News Journal and WAR. And I was down at Fricker Center, and it was that's what the precinct was that was really heated. And it was just me and Hugh King, and it was LuTimothy Mays and a boatload of supporters for Lumen. And we got into a little confrontation, but before that, Mayor Hayward was there, and he was walking up. I let him have it. That was our third time seeing each other face to face. And, I was just going at him, and I was saying so much stuff that was true. And he pulled me to the side. He said, what is your effing deal with me? And I laughed, you know what I'm saying? I was like, man, you know what I'm saying? Like, I voted for you. I mean, like, you the type that I go out to have a beer with, and that bothers me a little bit because I know you like to get those. So, but anyway, but he asked me for a meeting, and he knew better than to bring Timothy May into that meeting. I brought my pastor, Sean Jones, and I brought Boneface with me, and he had Chip Simmons. He brought Chip Simmons with him, and he brought the at the time he was the I think what the city manager, the one that was the scapegoat that that Mayor Hayward and like eventually fired. I can't think of his name right now. Excuse me, it's been so long ago. But yeah, they was all in the meeting, and you know what I'm saying? Like, they didn't bring up none of the Mays brothers, you know what I'm saying? Because he knew I knew what was going on. So don't get it twisted thinking about this whole thing is about a traffic stop because it goes in beforehand. This is nothing but I call it the Willie Jr. effect. You know, it's something going on behind the scenes to where, like, you know, something that Lumen May didn't hold up his end of the bargain in, and he's getting crucified for it.
Well, see, and that's partly where I differ at. It's the fact that I think that it doesn't. I don't think it has to do with the traffic stop either. I mean, the fact of the matter is, I think that it is partly related to the fact that, okay, we had this race relations meeting or banquet or whatever it was, $35 a head. It was put on by the Panhandle Tiger Bait Club, and it was held at New World Landing at 11:30 in the day on a Friday. I criticized that. You know, the audience that was there, those individuals, and I make the joke, but it's true. All of those individuals that were there at that race relations forum, they were in their 30s when Martin Luther King was shot. That tells you how old the crowd is, how old the crowd was.
And I think it's duly noted that Martin Luther King, to let everybody know, was assassinated in 1968. But go ahead.
In 68, yes. So these people were clearly in their 80s, you know. So that crowd was a somewhat of a dog and pony show, I believe. But one of the things that I went in and I wondered whether or not there was going to be a hard stance taken on behalf of our community by the individuals that were there. Sheriff Morgan, of course not. The guy was sitting in between two other African Americans turning red because he couldn't spew the rhetoric that he wanted so much to put out, and he finally fit some of it at the end. But between that, or on each side, were two rational human beings that were really making sense, made sense, and really touched the mindset that I have as an African American here in Pensacola. So, and I was pleasantly surprised of the stance that Reverend May took, because I didn't know because of his the affiliations with the city and all, and his position and how he has to come across to a certain extent as a liaison for the city. I didn't know what stance he would take, whether he would walk a fine line. Well, he stepped over that line and he batted for his community. You know, did we lose each other?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, all right.
Do we need to start this over?
No, we're gonna edit it.
Okay.
Yeah,
hold on. Okay, yeah, I think it might have been my computer.
It might have been yours, but just in case, we're just gonna cut it off and restart it over anyway. So, all right, guys, I think we had a little technical difficulties there. And so we're just going to keep everything going. And basically what I was saying was, after that race relations banquet forum or whatever, you know, LuTimothy surprised me, pleased me, and in both instances at his stance that he took for the community. I wasn't sure how he was going to walk that fine line as a community liaison, but he did. He batted for his community. And, you know, I think that hit the internet. I think that easily could have upset some of the individuals that are here in this city that feel like that there shouldn't be a voice that's heard. You know, the same voice that called one of the city council members and it got back to me saying that Jabril shouldn't be saying some of the things that he's saying back when Coach Willie Spears was fired, and I spoke on the fact that the school board was lynching young African Americans for playing sports. You know,
well,
so
I mean,
go ahead.
Let's look at it. Let's look at the only example that's out there that's the same thing what Lumen made what's going on now. And that's, of course, we all know that's Willie Jr. Okay. We all know that Willie Jr. was the fall guy. Willie Jr. was a man of the people. That's how he became this big voice. Let's look at Lumen, his days at Salvation Army. He was the man of the people. He has flaws. I have flaws. We all have flaws. But he does have a heart of the people. In the end, what ultimately got Willie Jr. killed is that because both Willie Jr., in my opinion, and I could be wrong, which I'm rarely not wrong, they both had Uncle Tom money. You know, they was paid money, gave a power position to sell out their people. You know, and in the end, what was in their heart turned out, you know what I'm saying, just like they couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what ultimately got Willie Jr. killed. And right now, Lumen May, you know what I'm saying, like you said, he has done a lot for the community, which surprised me, you know, and he showed me that I was wrong again. But at the end of the day, you see what's going on with him now, because he was not supposed to be that man of the people. He was supposed to keep the Negroes in check and feed them something. And you know what I'm saying, and just go along with the agenda of the Pensacola elite.
So, I mean, do you think personally, in a way, that since he's evolving from the position that you originally put him in, you think that that's part of the issue that people have with him right now? Also, is that he is becoming more of a proponent for the people now, that is causing him harm. And you know, in respect to the people that may have had some type of interest in him at the beginning of his career as a politician.
Well, I think me and you have totally different 2020 eyes on this thing.
We do, and I started that from the beginning because you know, there's contrasting views. That's why I wanted to have this discussion, because you know, there is, I do see it in one fashion. You see it in your fashion, and let's talk about it. What do you think?
Well, I mean, my thing is, when I look on Facebook, everybody, to me, the minority is throwing stones at Lumen and the Mays brother. The majority are fooled, and the majority don't follow local politics. They don't pick up the news journal, and they don't watch WEAR. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida, and I still keep up with it, and I know what's going on. And it's just like, for people to come out, I have seen so many people share this article from the Pensacola Today, from PNJ, and like, oh man, it's a witch hunt on Lumen. Oh man, oh, they fired Timothy.
So you don't believe that? You don't believe that? Do you believe that they've set themselves up to deserve this?
Exactly. I feel like,
and that's what that's the hard part.
In my opinion, and excuse me if I'm wrong, and I don't believe I am, you know, they got what they deserve. You know, but wait, can we both agree? There was no, and still no bigger critic of Lumen May than me, correct?
You're right. You're right.
Now I'm coming out, and I'm coming on the fact that I don't care if Lumen May put himself in this position. Right is right, is wrong. I'm taking up for May. You know, despite our differences, and despite I'm not no I told you so type of person. Even though I could have easily said, I told you so. But because the same thing is just that the person that's following May, it's the good old boy system that's going on in Pensacola, Florida right now, that's crucifying May, and the May brothers are just straight up a victim of. And that's what I'm opposing. And it doesn't matter if it happened to Lumen, and I tried hard not to get them in there, because at the end of the day, I got a responsibility that I like to believe ordained by God to fight and expose these type of things, you know.
See, and that's the thing that I feel like that no matter who would have gotten into that system, that good old boy system is so prevalent, so strong in this community that I feel like it could have been Hugh King in that position. It could have been me in that position.
Wait a minute, let's stop. It has been Hugh King.
Remember? See, and that tells you how much I know.
To this day, everybody, when they think of Hugh King, and I have heard it, and excuse me, Mr. King, but I got to speak on it. Oh, he a cokehead. Oh, he this. Oh, they stopped him having coke and this, that. Man, open your eyes, man, and realize what the city of Pensacola is doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all just crucified this man because he was stopped, he got pulled over, and he had cocaine. But you know what I'm saying? Like, they know what they're doing. Like, look at our sheriff right now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
hold on. Let's not get on the sheriff yet. Let's stay. Let me make one point here with this whole situation is that I truly believe that yes, it's the victim of the good old boy system. Also, there's fallout from the Confederate flag. There's fallout from that arena there because of the fact that people in this community needed someone to lash out. They needed to point the finger, or they needed to vent their frustration or something. So they go to the graffiti bridge and they paint that with the flag. Okay, that's fine. But still, they needed something, and it's that board, I would say, subconscious almost position that's behind the flag that's fueling the hate behind the Mays brothers right now in the reaction to that video. I say right now, I'm gonna say it. I understand their frustration in dealing with law enforcement. I've been in that position where there's something going on, it's not right, and yes, you can de-escalate. You can de-escalate the situation. You definitely can.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm sorry, Jabril. I don't mean to cut you off, but what you just said, to me, it sounds like you thinking that this was by chance they pulled him over by a tag. You don't think this was planned?
There's a lot of.
If you think this is planned, you are really you got too much respect for what's going on. This was not planned. This was planned. This was not by chance. This was planned. And didn't Lumen say this is like my third or fourth time happening to me?
Yeah. That's exactly what he said. He's frustrated about that. So no matter what you thought in the past, this is a setup. This is completely a setup.
In the book of The Art of War, I believe one of the laws was know your enemy like you know yourself. You don't think they know Lumen May has a quick temper? And if you get them 4 or 5 times, they had the camera rolling. They had the dash camera rolling the first time they did it, the second time they did it. Just like they probably know about me. I'm a hothead. You know what I'm saying? They probably know me too well. They know Lumen very well. They're like, one time he gonna snap if we keep doing it to him. And I mean, like, let me tell you something. Pensacola is a mafia. The elite are a mafia. They know what they're doing. This is not their first time doing it. I mean, do you think that Willie Jr. crawled under a house and drunk what it was? They say he had
something
in the car for your air conditioner.
Yeah. Antifreeze. That's right.
And just antifreeze. You think he crawled under house? No. Willie Jr. did not do that. And so, you know, they are smarter. With time grows, people get smarter. And so, you know, they know how to make things, they know how to make people flaws work against them. And right now, man, Lumen May flaws worked against them. But I think, you know, the traffic stop, the video, I mean, it may look bad, but it ain't bad enough to make the man step down. But it was the first thing, the first notch to have that whole empire of the Mays brothers crumble down. And if he stepped down, he a damn fool.
No, you know, man, that man is not going to step down. You know, and it would take an act of God to get him fired, first of all, anyway. So the easiest thing was to do was, okay, we can't get one, let's get the other. You know, and I truly believe that, but it wasn't because of that video necessarily, or was it some of the and that's what I go back to, that I really believe that the video could have had something to do with it as well. But this man, he batted for his community, especially at that race relations speech forum.
Let's get on Tim May. What did you tell me on the phone the other day?
What did I tell you over the phone?
About why you think what was going on with Tim? You know, why the witch hunt really came on.
That's what I'm saying. That's because of that race relations. He actually batted for his community. He's to a big extent, he stepped over the line as a community liaison and stepped into his rightful place as being a proponent for the community. That's why I think that that's part of the reason why, you know, that's one of the reasons why this witch hunt has happened. Now it could have ended. It could have, the video could have taken it over the top.
Well, to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, that position that Tim May held before a couple of days ago, yesterday, whatever day, did it exist before Lumen came in office?
No, it didn't exist before Lumen came in office.
And you remember the public access channels, and they had Mayor Hayward's wife sitting down with Timothy May and A.A. Dixon and everything. Let me tell you something, man. One back scratches the other. I'm telling you, something happens behind the closed doors that we don't know, and we probably never know, that Lumen and the powers that be that put him in that power, they're not seeing eye to eye, and they're showing him that you just a nigger, and we just put you in this power and you could be replaced.
And that's one of the things that I have really pushed about being independently funded. What does that mean? And there's a group on Facebook called Escambia County Citizens Watch. I've referenced it in the past. And, you know, lately I've been almost in battle with these guys. The group is overly conservative, and there's a certain mindset and ideology that comes with it. And it conflicts with the opinions that I have, you know, in politics, life, society, everything. And, you know, one of the things that I have to, I don't know, it's the thing is that, so I've been talking with these guys, and I've been explaining to them that, hey, one of the things that's tied to the black state, African-American state in this country is business. It's money, it's capital, you know, it's access to funding, all of those things.
And you know, you bring up a good point, because when Lumen May was running, it mirrored, because at the same ticket, you know, on the national level, Obama was up for re-election, and it mirrored Obama Biden looked just like Hayward May. It did. They were running off of each other. Well, and I'm like, man, this situation stink, man.
Well, no, what I say is that for anybody, even if the job was created for him or for whatever reason, and for anybody in this city to be able to enact change, you unfortunately, I just really don't believe you can enact change working for the place, or working for the infrastructure that you're trying to change.
Well, see,
it has to be an outside element. That outside element has to come from it has to be funded from the businesses, from the wealth that that someone's able to build within the city or without the city. So if you're in construction, if you're in construction, if you have a construction business and you're well off and you can be a proponent in this city, you need to be a proponent in this city, not worrying about whether or not you're going to get construction contracts and things like that from the city.
Well, hold on. For those people,
go ahead.
Oh, for those people that don't know, I just want to make sure I clarify you before you go on. Did you just dream up construction out the blue, or did you?
Construction is one of the major procurement items that's afforded to general contractors from the city and different areas like that.
Well, the reason why I say that, you know about Mays Construction, right?
Yes and no, yes and no, and that's definitely not a shot at that at all. It's for the fact that if you know, if they're making their money and it's not based on the city's contracts and all, and they are able to make their money in construction, and and I was given a vague general just idea because there's more African Americans that will be well off in the city because of construction and general contract and things like that, much more so than real estate or technology, things like that, you know.
Well,
So
I just wanted to make sure because the Mays, their dad owned the construction company, and it fell into their hands after his death. And since this recent alignment of the city, the Mays Construction got a lot of contracts through the city. I believe if I'm not mistaken, it may some people may say I'm wrong, but Mays Construction did a lot with maritime and doing a lot. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't be careful, and I'm gonna tell you one thing, and I said this before on the video, that what got me in trouble is that if you're living around that Baptist Marino area, around the Mars Court area, that intimate domain, Baptist is going to buy that out, and your neighborhood Mars Court guy, LuTimothy Mays, was going to be knocking on your door about selling your property to Hispanic Baptist. And, it was a lot of stuff going on. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to have everything go from a honeymoon state to a divorce state, but we here and we are what we are.
just to retouch on my point, and I use construction not because of the fact that their families in construction. That's not the case. It's the fact that if you're an electrician, if you are a construction, whatever it is, if you're able and you're well off in this city and you work for yourself, you should be the ones that are speaking out, because there are people that can't speak out because they are tied to for whatever reason to the infrastructure of this city more so than individuals like the people that I'm speaking about. And if you have the ability to speak out with an independent voice, that's going to affect change more so than speaking out with the risk of being fired, with the risk of being crucified in the media, and people asking you to step down from your public position and so forth. There's certain people that have the stomach for politics, and you do have to play that line. But me, hashtag who's gonna fire me? Hashtag who's gonna fire me? And that's the thing that I live by right now as I speak out and against anything that's going on in the city, and as I speak my mind, because this is an overly conservative and red county. There's a majority of mindset. It's not tied to skin color. It's not tied to race. It's a mindset that as a majority that I personally have to speak against, that's holding the minority back. That's creating that rift with the minority. So
well, I think you got a good point, but it's just a little flawed, because if you're talking about construction, see, you have the perfect thing. You're a tech guy. They can't mess with that. But if you have construction, do I have to remind you about Charles Harden? Justin Harden's dad. When you're dealing with construction, you're dealing with the land of Escambia County / the city of Pensacola. They can come at you, zoning laws, anything. True. But if you got tech where you're at, yeah, you can speak out all day, because you don't make your money in Pensacola.
We need some more techies here that's going to be able to speak out. Then that's just the fact of the matter. But even with tech, there's individuals that
but the city can't touch you, though.
Like Mike Hicks, he's relied on a lot of contracts with the city, and he's in tech necessarily. But what I mean by that is that we need more independent, free thinkers that's not tied to a fear of being crucified or being fired because they speak out. And hopefully this is this is proof that everyone's vulnerable, even myself. Never done drugs before in my life. Never smoked anything. I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. And who's to say one day, for some reason, the Audi A7 is pulled over and all of a sudden they find a cloudy bag in it for whatever reason, because I'm getting set up. Unfortunately, every black man that speaks out, every African American man that speaks out in this city, that's the same fear. We have to, but unfortunately, we're gonna have to push past that fear. We really do. We have to push past being crucified, being fired, being set up, because things have to change.
Well, I tell you what, everybody on Facebook, the citizens, you have to be there before something like this happens. You have to be there during when something like this happens, right, and after, you know, and it's like we have the power in numbers. One thing, and I said this at my keynote speech a couple years ago at Movement for Change, they play on the black man's short memory. And it's a powerful weapon, because we do have short memory. And I tell you what, until the citizens get fed up, it's always gonna be like this. No matter if your last name Mays, Suleiman, or Williams.
Right, right. Hashtag justice for D. Also, I see that you have the shirt on.
You already know, man. I'm in Jacksonville doing the same thing I'm doing in Pensacola, and I think only the grace by God is the reason why I haven't been thrown under the bus. You know, because you know me, I be in city council. I call a spade. I tell Sheriff Haywood, Mayor Haywood.
we can't even get on the sheriff today. We can't even talk about the sheriffs today, and that's gonna
we ain't gonna go.
That's gonna be a whole nother topic that we should have had months ago when the video went viral. But you know, I've been low key. But this right here, these events that's happened this past week,
we had to stop what we were doing, because I'm busy. I know I got to get ready to go in a little bit. I have some stuff I have to do. I know I'm not busier than you, because I'm filling in for you for the Pensacola perspective. But we had to stop what we was doing, and we had to address what's going on. And I had to let the people of Pensacola know, listen, don't think that the Mays brothers didn't put themselves in this position. I'm not saying let's not take up for them, because I'm gonna take up for them. But don't think that they didn't do this to themselves.
How does the next prominent African American that's coming up in this city, how do they not do it to themselves? And that's if that's what you believe there, you know, if my solution to that is for the fact that it comes down to economics, business that's not tied to the seat of this city, to the framework of this city. That's my solution to that. If I was to agree with you on what you're saying there, is that they set themselves up. But even if they didn't, it's still tied to economics. It's tied to business. It's tied to creating a self-sustaining ability, passive income to get out there and do things and affect change without worrying about being fired.
I think we both have two different views, and neither one of us is wrong. You're on the business economics, and I'm on the power to the people. It's going to take the Pensacola citizens to really dictate that. Power to vote, the power of support, and the power we ain't taking this no more.
Right, right. Well, guys, look, we're gonna leave it at that. I do want to say, you know, this is Jabril Suleiman. We are having a community forum at the West Florida Library. Let's see, August the 4th at 5:30.
I was trying to help you out
at the West Florida Library on August the 4th. I went blank there for a second.
It's all good.
And so, you know, I invite everybody out. What is the community forum on? We're discussing the engagement of the law enforcement and the engagement of education within the minority community. I know that's a vague topic, but specifically these youth. We're going to talk about the school to prison pipeline for an hour with a panel. That's going to be from 6:30 to 7:30. Before that, from 5:30 to 6:30, we're going to have representatives of law enforcement out, and we're going to be talking about the school to prison pipeline. But we're also going to be talking about things like that video, the Walmart video that went viral. So I invite you guys to come out and take a listen and participate. Youth groups, young kids that are doing stuff positive, or people who's watching this, invite those kids out to the forum so they can ask questions to law enforcement and to the education representatives in this community.
And my last thought that I just said was, it was about the power of the people taking it back. What Jabril is putting together with the panel, this is your first step of doing it. Pack it out. Pack it out. You all need to be there. August the 4th, downtown at the library. Be there. Pack it out. I'm gonna be there. I'm coming from Jacksonville. I'm gonna be there. Be there. Let's take our city back, man. Take our city back. Get fed up. Stop just talking on Facebook. Because Facebook and that internet don't mean nothing. You can be whoever you want to be on Facebook. Be it in the streets. Then I respect you on the internet. That's it.
With that said, you can find more information on the group at MrJabrilSuleiman.com. That's my fan page, Facebook.com/MrJabrilSuleiman.com. And who knows when I'll be back to the Pensacola Perspective. For the time being, Mr. Jermaine Williams, author Jermaine Williams, activist Jermaine Williams will be hosting. I can't say guest hosting. He will be hosting the Pensacola Perspective. With that, signing off. We'll see you guys later.